Welcome. Sorry it's been a delay on everything. Cruellica and I have both been a little too busy on our normal time right now.
Yeah, normal work, unfortunately, has been encroaching into my personal time. And then when I do have personal time, I've decided to have an ADD moment and play a video game.
You just put 150 hours in Persona 5. I have put 140 hours in Cold Steel on my downtime, so both of us basically wanted to veg out right now.
Exactly, but we are back, and we're back with a mission, and we wanted to keep some of our most recent podcasts focused on what's going on in the world, especially in relation to pop culture. And the first one that we have is going to be talking about pretty much where we're at right now in the middle of February.
With an Arctic cold snap that I have not seen in 10 years.
Especially hitting many warm weather states. Texas, Tennessee, Alabama.
Arkansas. Louisiana and Arkansas got snow. Tennessee got snow. Texas does get snow on occasion, but not down in the Austin, Dallas, and Houston areas usually do not get snow.
Well, and it's statewide. And how this affects pop culture is, well, if you think about it for the entire country, even though we're still in a pandemic, a lot of the studios have to begin production again, or they are severely delayed. And
you have the movie industry in Austin, you have the TV industry in Austin, and then you have animation industries in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Exactly. And while, yes, most people in the anime industry do work remotes, not everyone can.
And then Rooster Teeth. They can work remote, but a lot of their animation is done in-house in their studio, as well as their writing staff gets together via Zoom, but also needs the office to actually finish up some stuff as well. But Carrie Sawcross on Twitter the other day made probably one of the stupidest comments I've ever seen come out of the entertainment industry in the last few weeks. Because there's always something stupid, but this takes the cake. And the tweet's since been deleted, but basically it summed up that they were delaying Ruby episode 10 for volume 8 a week because of the weather, but he put that the episode was practically done in the tweet. So then a bunch of people started responding on why wasn't it out yet if it's practically done, and then he's like, well, let me clarify on what needs to be done, and it's not done. Why do that? So a lot of confusion there, but it just goes to show right now, when people are paying for a premium content, especially right now during this pandemic, you gotta choose your words wisely.
Well, that's a really good point, because everyone is on edge. And yes, we are coming, hopefully, to the tail end of it. I'm not going to be crazy to think that it's done yet.
I'm still saying it'll be till November.
I agree. I think 2022 is when everything's going to be opening up fully. But because of that, a lot of people are still regulated to their homes. And if you do have states that are not prepared for a cold snap, I have some colleagues in my regular job who work for, who live out of Tennessee and Alabama, and it was a perfect example. They are not prepared. So there were no plows, there were no ice trucks. So people are more so stuck in their homes.
And the power grids in those states aren't accustomed, as we're seeing with Texas right now, which I could go on from an old roommate that used to work on the electrical grid there on the whole snafu on why that's foobar, but yeah, you have something like this happen, and these people aren't prepared.
And so how this affects pop culture, and the reason why we have a therapy chair session for it mostly, is because it's important to look at it from both sides. If you look at it from a business-related side, yes, communicate with your audience. As you'd mentioned, if you have a premium service, people do need to have some sort of update if there's an expectation. And on the flip side, not that what Carrie Shawcross said wasn't foolish in the initial tweet, but on the flip side,
he was trying to be communicative with everybody.
Exactly. But as a fan, you're eager. You want to see it. And being told, no, you're not going to see it at your regularly scheduled time is...
And especially after they've taken a break since December to February, a lot of it was more than likely, they haven't really talked about it, but it probably was because of COVID-related issues that ended up hanging up production because a lot of stuff's being done remote. Mm-hmm. But he ended up not phrasing what was going on in a proper manner, especially on Twitter. And we know how Twitter reacts to stupid comments.
Well, Twitter is, and not to really change this into a Twitter focus thing, but Twitter has become very, very negative and hostile.
We'll get into that later.
Yes, we actually have an entire podcast related to what we're going to be thinking about. However, when it comes to what's going on, especially in Texas, and you do have a lot of the entertainment industry housed out of Texas, most people think it's California. It's really not anymore.
No, there are 5 cities that the entertainment industry in North America is housed out of now. Vancouver, Las Vegas, of course, Los Angeles.
Yes.
New York, and then Austin. A lot of people forget that Austin is becoming a major hub for the entertainment industry now.
And the only other place that you have that's not a hub, but it's where a lot of production takes place, is in Georgia. But that's because Georgia offers a lot of cut rate deals. But when you have a good majority of your... For us fans, to be fair, a lot of anime fans... A lot of your entertainment is housed out of
Fort Worth, Texas.
Fort Worth, Dallas, Texas. And it makes it a bit of a challenge for fans because then not only are you dealing with a very life-threatening situation locally, but for anybody who is not admittedly dealing with it, you have to have that moment of compassion and just breathe. And on the flip side, for the business individuals, if you are going through a challenging situation, rather than saying the episode is not done, what he could have said or what anyone could say is, Texas.
Yeah.
Under tons of ice and snow, nothing is happening.
Yeah. And the rolling blackouts are not helping either right now.
Well, no, and that, I will say, makes it hard for anyone to do their job. And since everything has to be done digitally, especially for a lot of voice acting now, it is done digitally where somebody is recording in their home studio and then they are sending their files digitally to the director or whomever else might need it.
Or they're doing it via Zoom. The whole thing's being done via Zoom where they're recording and having everything transferred over immediately, but it's all being done digitally.
And the challenge with it is, no matter how good of an internet connection you may have, if you're going through a lot of spotty coverage and a lot of spotty issues, you cannot control that. So if your internet goes out, your cable's going to go out. And if you try to use your cell towers, I can guarantee you, just from my own business experience, Zoom does not work as well if you're solely going off a cell tower.
You're basically stuck with satellite internet at that point if you actually want a stable connection.
And that is not conducive to doing a successful amount of work. And my concern with the pop culture industry is not so much that things are going to be delayed because...
You know, it's inevitable just with this right now.
Well, exactly. And we've had the pandemic, which has delayed a significant amount. And I'm actually surprised and I'm very impressed with Funimation, who is out of Texas. They're out of Flower Mound, which is close to Fort Worth.
They'll be moving out of Flower Mound here in May to their new offices in downtown Dallas.
Let's hope that happens with everything going on. It will happen, but it could be delayed. I think what my thought is that they're still, throughout the entirety of the pandemic, and even now, they're still doing the work. The only thing I'm more concerned about is going to be the servers. Because for any pop culture fans out there, you should know that everything we do, everything we look at, and everything we watch...
kept on the cloud.
It's kept in the cloud, but the cloud still needs a physical home to go to.
And it needs a cooling, or it needs to be able to stay warm.
It needs to stay at a stable temperature, because you cannot have your physical servers get too warm or get too cold. So it's a very interesting conundrum, and I think that is my biggest concern of all, because with servers, you don't have, and I'm not an IT person, so if I'm slightly incorrect, please do let me know in the comments, but from my past experience of knowledge, it's not like the server rooms of the old days of like the 80s and 90s where it's like a literal wall of banks. You still have that, but those are for like large companies that are feeding in for multiple.
Those are basically banks which have an entire floor just dedicated to their servers.
Yes, this is going to be a little bit smaller, but it's still tough. Think of Amazon. Amazon actually does a lot of the servers, AWS, for most businesses in the United States.
And they keep a lot of their server locations, funny enough, in Arlington, Virginia.
Yes, they do. And
there's a reason for that.
Well, there's very much reason for that, because we fell victim to ourselves with my regular company, and we're government. But still, nevertheless, that's my biggest concern, is because not everyone has the luxury of having an AWS server. So you have your own private server because it's much cheaper. And AWS can be very pricey.
Sony keeps most of their servers located in California, so I think Funimation will be okay, but some of your smaller...
like Sentai or...
basically, Sentai, Discotech, both out of Texas, are the two biggest concerns right now, being the smaller companies.
And my other biggest concerns are also admittedly, I am concerned about everyone in the state of Texas.
We have friends and family in Texas.
Absolutely. So I'm not just simply concerned on the pop culture spectrum, because that's not fair, but I am ultimately concerned about how this can affect pop culture, because it's just another delay of individuals being able to work, which is going to affect their resolve of, can they afford to stay within this industry? And with we do have a core set of voice actors, but a lot of fans have made complaints in the past about not having enough diversity in the voice acting community.
This could hamper that back again when they were just starting to get back into the diversity side.
Absolutely. Because with the diversity side, a lot of people could work from home. It really opened it up because you didn't have to travel in. But if you are limited on your revenue even further now, because let's say your director, who is housed out of Texas, has no power, you may be in California or wherever, you can do your job, but you cannot get it to them. There are a lot of concerns on the pop culture front of how this could affect just an ongoing situation.
And then the film and movie industry, when we hamper down to Austin right now. And it's not talking about the core actors, the core directors, the core writers. They'll always have work. You're talking about stagehands. You're talking about the people that do a lot of the behind-the-scenes work.
Who live locally.
Are they going to want to keep in the industry if they can't keep a stable job right now because of not only what's going on with the pandemic, but with everything that's going on with the weather right now?
Well, and this is concerning, because the entertainment industry, which we all love pop culture, we all live it, that's why we're here. But the concern is, fans can only enjoy so much, and we'll always enjoy it. But if people are not able to make the content, how are we going to enjoy it?
We've kind of reserved to the music industry at this point. It's like, it's going to come back when it comes back, and we know it's going to have major changes. We just don't know what, but...
Well, and this is making me wonder, because I was already wondering it with the pandemic, is that how the rest of pop culture is going to be?
Yeah.
Because books can still be written, so there's no concerns there.
Music has gone to more of a digital presentation format.
Well, especially now with you not having MTV or VH1 to play music videos any longer.
Everybody's doing their own shows that you're buying a ticket for to watch online.
Or you're going to YouTube,
Yeah.
and they just release their videos there or through Vivo or something. And so this could be, with everything that's going on with Texas being one of the major hotspots for entertainment, it's going to be interesting how this is going to affect it, because California itself has affected it a lot with the severity of the pandemic.
The only one that has not really been affected has been Nevada's industry, but it's the adult entertainment industry in Nevada. They have been dealing with all these kind of hiccups for decades.
Well, I think they have a good plan in place. Texas, unfortunately, did not have the appropriate plan, but it was unexpected.
Yeah.
California didn't have their appropriate plan, but once again, it was unexpected for them.
New York ended up getting by.
New York gets by because New Yorkers are New Yorkers. But in all honesty, New York got by because New York always plans for the worst.
And then Vancouver's basically just kind of rid this thing out, because that's where a lot of TV shows get produced that get watched that aren't produced in California or New York or Texas.
Exactly. So I know this seems like a lot of nonsense in a way, but it's important to recognize.
It all comes together when you actually think about it. It is all connected.
Absolutely. So starting with the tweets, that's how it all spirals out of control. If you have one bad tweet or one poorly worded tweet,
it basically was just a horribly worded tweet.
It definitely takes it all into various directions, and it makes you think, okay, if we have this situation happen, how many people really have put plans into place to prepare for the inevitability of climate change happening and you getting bad weather where it reduces you to not being able to work? And to be fair, this is all conjecture based on tweets, based on posts, and based on just general knowledge of the industry.
Yeah.
There is nothing of fact to prove.
You can basically make an educated guess from just the 5.5 years we've been dealing with the entertainment industry.
And that's all we can base it on, is just our previous knowledge of how the inner workings are and how it can affect the future of entertainment.
And with the future of entertainment moving towards more on-demand streaming, less syndicated television, and I have a feeling the movie industry is eventually going to do the same as the TV industry in 10 years.
They've already started.
Yeah, what's this going to do when unexpected things happen? Because you're going to see this happen more and more.
Exactly. So the moral of the story is, if you go to an on-demand platform as a business or as a consumer, you have to be prepared for significant delays, and you have to be prepared for the unexpected.
Yeah.
You have to, because if 2020 and then this sad event happening in Texas and the rest of the country for the U.S. is, it's taught us that you constantly have to be prepared for the inevitable.
Yeah.
And if you aren't prepared, then you're going to be severely disappointed. And if somebody does address it, where they're saying things will be delayed or this is going to happen.
Like, don't use the word done and then delay in the same post.
Yes, that is a very good point. Don't say this is done, but we're delaying it. Because that's James Bond. We'll get to that in a future podcast. But nevertheless, the end moral of the story is, have patience.
We're targeting more to the general audience of Twitter and social media, because we understand both sides, but you guys impatient.
Yes. And actually it's going to kind of work out because our next 2 podcasts are going to be talking about similar elements, especially with social media. But be patient. Have faith that if you like something, they are continuing to work on it, even if it is taking a little bit longer than it should be. Perfect example for me is season 2 of Dr. Stone came out, and it's been out for 6 weeks, and Funimation has just started now releasing it on their website. I had to breathe, take a moment, and say, pandemic. And then with this going on, take a moment, breathe, climate change. All right.
And with that, we're going to go into something that I just avoided the entire drama on for the 2 days it went on. This one with Cruellica decided to go in and rant on it. So this is going to be her leading off on this next one.
But I think it's an important topic. So our next topic is going to be on fandom gatekeeping and the negative effects of it. So with that said, we'll see you soon. Bye!